Number 1, Philippians 4 verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. My beloved, Paul knew that there was another strength in him, so that even when he felt weak and saw that his abilities could not achieve much, that strength in him would enable him to achieve results. When we have faith in the one who dwells in us, we no longer grow weak in our minds. What task is ahead of you? Is there something that makes you feel there is nothing you can do about it? Remember, God doesn't want you to trust in your own abilities, but in His abilities. If you depend on the one who lives in you, there's nothing you cannot do. Number 2, 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. This scripture reveals something powerful about God that we must never forget. God doesn't release His grace to those who already have grace. Until we acknowledge that we need help, we can't receive it. Nobody wants to give something to someone who doesn't need it. What is grace? Grace is the ability of God working in a human being, an ability that can't be earned. When His abilities come into you, you produce results based on that ability. Paul operated in the grace of God. The abilities Paul expressed were divine abilities. Human capacity cannot achieve much, but when God's abilities come into play, you succeed far beyond what you could achieve on your own. That scripture says grace is made perfect in weakness. This means only when we are weak does that grace work to its fullest. To be weak means to be unable to carry out a function. Sometimes we must acknowledge our weaknesses to receive God's grace. Grace only comes to those who are weak, those who see themselves as unable to act on their own. When you place yourself in a position where God sees your weakness, His grace and abilities are made perfect in your life. From that moment, you begin to experience divine abilities. One way to demonstrate your weakness before God is through prayer. When you pray, you take in the abilities of God. When you confess your weakness, you are filled with His strength.